9 years have passed since Emperor Paul Atreides ventured blind into the desert. The narrative unfolds at a gathering of the Imperial House's High Council, comprising Alia, Duncan Idaho, Stilgar, and Irulan, which is now the caregiver to the Atreides children. They lament their loss of political momentum since Paul's time, with Alia struggling to maintain control over the jihad. Despite tightening their hold on politics and rituals, they find themselves slipping further from authority. Paul's young children, Leto and Ghanima, stray far from the ordinary 9-year-olds, bearing the weight of ancestral memories from the moment of their conception. Their young minds grapple with the unsettling realization that Alia may have succumbed to possession, morphing into what they call an abomination. This fear grips them, for they foresee a similar fate looming over their own futures. Moreover, they grasp the imminent ecological upheaval on Dune, foreseeing the demise of sand trout and giant worms, which spells doom for the spice, a secret shared solely among themselves and Alia. Leto harbors an additional anxiety. He finds himself plagued by visions that echo the prophetic dreams of his father during his own youth. He is terrified of being ensnared in a premature grasp of foresight like his father. Alia, recognizing the necessity of such visions to maintain her dominion over the Empire, pressures Leto to delve into the depths of the spice trance. She struggles to attain such visions, intensifying the burden on Leto's shoulders. The tension escalates as Lady Jessica prepares to journey to Arrakis from her seclusion on Caladan to see her grandchildren. Alia is deeply anxious about her mother's arrival, as she is now possessed by the malevolent spirit of Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. Despite her assurance that no one has detected the change within her, she fears her mother will discern the truth. Under the Baron's influence, she has strayed far from the traditional Atreides principles, even engaging in a clandestine affair with a priest named Javid, without Duncan's knowledge. In the vast expanse of the desert, a new religious leader has emerged among the Freemen, denouncing the injustices perpetuated by the religious authority and the societal changes within the Freeman community. Known simply as the Preacher, there are whispers that he may be the legendary figure of Paul Atreides himself. Meanwhile, on Seleucus Secundus, the Corrinos are once again scheming to seize power. When Sisha, the younger sister of Irulan, governs in the name of her son, Faradin, she has devised a sinister plot to eliminate the Atreides twins and secure her family's dominance. Jessica's arrival on the planet fills her with apprehension, having been approached by the Bene Gesserit and compelled to acknowledge her neglected responsibilities. After reconciling with the sisterhood, she is seemingly embraced back into their fold. Guided by the sisterhood's warnings, her return to Arrakis is fraught with fear, suspecting that Alia and her grandchildren may have succumbed to corruption. Upon meeting her daughter at the landing field, Jessica swiftly finds the truth of Alia's descent into darkness. Surprisingly, Alia seems relieved, signaling the end of her deception. Amidst a web of schemes involving everyone except Stilgar and Duncan Idaho, it becomes apparent that the twins are not mere pawns, harboring their own intentions unbeknownst to all. Arranging a meeting with her grandchildren, Jessica observes no signs of corruption in the twins, but detects a sense of secrecy in Leto, prompting his exclusion from the meeting. Jessica and Ghanima openly express their affection, united by a shared purpose. Jessica learns of the twins' awareness of Alia's corruption and their belief that her consumption of the spice was her downfall. While reassured of her granddaughter's purity, Jessica remains anxious about Leto. Ghanima, however, allays her fears regarding him, though she confesses she is worried about other things. Jessica's conversation with Leto takes a different turn. He takes charge of the discussion, revealing his insight into how the Bene Gesserit had manipulated her into arriving on Arrakis. He then commands her to allow herself to be taken captive in some future events. Leto challenges Stilgar's assumptions about him, highlighting that his memories and experiences extend far beyond his, asserting Leto's suitability for the role of emperor. He hints at prophetic dreams and warns Stilgar of a future event where he might meet his demise, instructing him to flee with Ghanima into the desert if such an event occur. Furthermore, Leto undermines his allegiance to Alia by exposing flaws in her ideology. He warns of the Empire's perilous trajectory under her leadership and emphasizing their severed friendship. He prompts Stilgar to acknowledge the impending change and challenges the notion that traditional thinking is infallible. During Jessica's encounter with her daughter, minions of Alia make an attempt on her life. Only with the aid of Paul's former Fedaykin is Jessica able to flee into the desert. This incident ignites a rebellion among the freemen, fueled by a sense of injustice and further empowered by Muad'Dib's mother. They want to counter Alia's religious authority. Simultaneously, the twins opt to venture into the desert at night, despite anticipating an impending attack foreseen by Leto's visions. They confront two Laza tigers, managing to defeat them despite Ghanima sustaining an injury. Employing a hypnotic technique, Ghanima convinces herself that her brother fell victim to the tigers, returning to Siege Tabor full of grief. This hypnotic method grants immunity from intrusive voices. Meanwhile, Farad'n learns of the assassination attempt on Leto and Ghanima. He's taken aback, not by the attempt itself, but by its inept execution, realizing the high stakes involved. Duncan becomes increasingly aware of Alia's infidelity, a realization that deeply wounds him. What truly devastates him is the revelation that Alia is under the influence of possession. This realization strikes him when she suggests eliminating Jessica. Duncan recognizes this as behavior uncharacteristic of an Atreides and understands that she must be influenced by something beyond her control. Alia hints to Duncan about her desire for her mother to vanish. Seizing the opportunity, Duncan offers to fulfill this wish, to which she reluctantly agrees. However, Duncan's method of making Jessica vanish deviates from Alia's expectations. Instead of eliminating, he kidnaps her and transports her to Seleucus Secundus, where she is destined to encounter an intriguing student. Jessica, uncertain of Duncan's intentions, questions about his allegiance, to which he cryptically responds, "The preacher." Duncan and Jessica's arrival on Seleucus brings unexpected news from Farad'n, who conveys with sympathy the tragic demise of Jessica's grandson, while her granddaughter survives. Amidst this, the Bene Gesserit lodge a formal protest regarding the Carino assassination attempt. Leveraging the situation, Farad'n orchestrates a public affirmation of his authority, compelling his mother to acknowledge his power before witnesses. Jessica and Farad'n strike a deal. She agrees to declare her voluntary presence on Seleucus, while he consents to exile his mother. In return, Jessica undertakes to instruct Farad'n in the Bene Gesserit ways. Moreover, the sisterhood pledged to support his ascent to the throne, with Ghanima proposed as his partner. Disguised as a commoner, Alia ventures to observe a speech by the preacher, hoping to discern his true identity. During the discourse, the preacher, sensing Alia's presence, exposes her disguise and privately reveals their familial bond. Alia is momentarily stunned by the revelation that the preacher is indeed her brother Paul. In a separate encounter, Duncan and Jessica engage in a conversation where he formally disassociates himself from Atreides' service. He disparages Jessica and urges Farad'n to return her to the Bene Gesserit fold. Meanwhile, Leto embarks on a quest to locate his father. He was aware of a historical accounts detailing the existence of a rebellious faction among the freemen known as the Aduali, also referred to as the water insects, who once dwelled in an area called Jacurutu, also known as Fondak. Additionally, he uncovered the existence of a village named Shulak, situated near the ancient site of Jacurutu, which was inhabited by the same Iduwali tribe. In ancient times, they had resorted to violence, seizing water from other freemen. In response, the remaining freemen of Dune retaliated by annihilating the Iduwali and declaring their siege off-limits, yet some of the survivors continued to clandestinely occupy the area. Those locations had faded into the realm of myth, rendering it an ideal refuge. Seeking sanctuary, Leto made his way to Jacurutu. Upon arriving, his attempt at infiltration was thwarted, leading to his capture. He found himself held by Gurney Halleck and a mysterious figure named Namri, who informed him of his enrollment in an educational program. Despite Leto's resistance, he was subjected to the administration of spice essence, inducing the spice trance. Though Gurney attributed this action to Jessica's orders, it was actually orchestrated by Alia. Leto underwent a profound metamorphic ordeal. Within the spice trance, he encountered mesmerizing and profound glimpses of potential futures. Amidst the turmoil, he teetered on the brink of insanity, yet ultimately emerged intact. In every vision except one, humanity faced extinction, thus paving the way for what he deemed the golden path. In his vision, he discerns a solution to his predicament. This involves enlisting support from ancestral figures, particularly an ancient ruler named Harem. These allies align with him to realize the golden path. Following a challenging encounter with Namri, he proves his resilience in the initial trial. Subsequently, he flees into the desert before facing further examinations. Upon discovering Leto's absence, Namri and Gurney engage in a heated argument. Namri reveals to Gurney his unwitting service to Alia rather than Jessica, leading to a fatal confrontation where Gurney dispatches Namri and escapes silently from Jacurutu. Alia and Duncan reunite, with Alia taken aback to discover her mother's survival and her involvement in training Faradin. Unaware of Duncan's deliberate deception, she interprets his actions as naivety rather than treachery. Nonetheless, Alia, influenced by the Baron, resolves to eliminate Duncan, deeming him too perilous. However, Duncan, employing his mind-reading abilities, discerns her clumsy scheme but feigns compliance, and later he flees with a Thopter. Leto's attempted escape isn't without setbacks. He soon realizes that Namri had sabotaged the heel pumps in his still suit, resulting in the loss of half his water supply. Undeterred, Leto takes matters into his own hands and heads toward Shulak. There, he encounters a group of men and employs cunning tactics to secure hospitality rights from their leader, Murais. In Shulak, Leto uncovers a surprising freeman operation. They're capturing giant worms for trading and transported to other planets. This revelation aligns with Leto's grand vision, prompting him to make a drastic decision. Sacrificing his humanity for the greater good, Leto embraces the body of a sandworm. Immersing himself in a pool of sand drought, he undergoes a transformation, emerging with a new form that grants him unparalleled speed and strength. He transcends his human limitations, evolving into a being of superhuman capabilities. Leto traverses the desert until he encounters the Preacher. He positions himself right in the path of a colossal worm, carrying the Preacher. The immense worm refuses to pass over Leto, being able to sense the sand drought in his body. Finally, he warmly greets his father, presenting a touching moment for Paul Atreides. Stilgar had maintained a stance of neutrality amidst the conflict between Alia and the rebels. However, he is deliberately provoked into a frenzy by Duncan Idaho's actions, including the killing of Javid and the subsequent insults. Full of rage, Stilgar retaliates by ending Idaho's life, swiftly recognizing his scheme. By eliminating him, Stilgar is coerced into joining the rebels to evade the inevitable retribution from Alia for the public execution of her spouse. Upon learning of Duncan's demise, Alia reacts predictably as a Freeman leader, commanding her forces to hunt down and eliminate Stilgar. Following this, much to the astonishment of the Baron who possesses her, she mourns Duncan, briefly reverting to her former self. While the conflict rages between the insurgents and the loyalists, and amidst Stilgar's constant evasion from one concealment to another, Leto dedicates his time to traversing the desert, disrupting Arrakis' ecological balance by dismantling the reservoirs, essential for its sustenance. He establishes his headquarters at Jakirutu, eliminating all who oppose him, while the inhabitants obey his commands with a fervent reverence. After a prolonged struggle, Alia cunningly recaptures Ghanima. She then presents her as a bride to Ferredin. Although Ghanima consents to the marriage, her true intention is to get close enough to Ferredin, whom she suspects of orchestrating her brother's assassination. The arrival of Ferredin on Dune for the wedding ceremony marks a critical juncture in the evolving dynamics. Paul, embodying the preacher, delivers a vehement speech denouncing his sister, leading a priest to assassinate him in front of Alia, Ferredin, and his mother, Jessica. Just as tension peaks, Leto makes a dramatic entrance with Ghanima, shocking everyone present. Uttering the necessary phrases, Leto triggers Ghanima's hidden memories. Inquiring about the success of the plan, she receives a cryptic response from her brother. Alia commands the guards to apprehend Leto, but he effortlessly overpowers them, instilling fear in them to not interfere. Advancing toward Alia, Leto extends an offer of assistance in combating her inner struggles. This proposition causes Alia's emotional collapse, her psyche fracturing completely, as various voices emerge in different tongues until the dominance of the Baron takes over. Leto and Jessica confront this manifestation, urging Alia to resist. Ultimately, in a desperate act to end this, Alia throws herself out of the window, meeting her demise. Leto ascends to the throne as emperor, leveraging his newfound nearly indestructible physique to assert dominance and instill fear among the Freeman leaders. Through demonstrations of his resilience such as surviving poisons, enduring heavy burdens, and withstanding blade wounds, he solidifies his authority. In a significant revelation to Ferredin, Leto unveils the Golden Path. Renaming Ferredin as Hark Aleda, he integrates him into his empire, acquiring his Sardaukar legions and arranging a clandestine marriage between Ghanima and Ferredin. Leto Atreides solidifies his position as the divine ruler of the galaxy. With his unmatched armies, precognitive abilities, and ancestral knowledge, he becomes invincible, exerting an unwavering control over humanity for countless generations.